Station. And we are here with Marcus of Marcus and Michael, because Michael was too mad at Marcus to come to the taping. Just kidding. Just kidding.
He's flying right now. He's flying right now.
He's flying right now. But I guess that brings us to that sweet moment at the end of the episode where you say you lost your brother $500,000.
Yes.
And it's just that was just so heartbreaking and torturous. Just give us a sense of like what was going through your mind and your feelings at the end of that leg, and especially after a mega leg, which we imagine was super exhausting.
Well, it was a very long day. If I had to put a time on it, it was something probably north of 12 hours, but probably longer. And actually, Michael and I, we didn't sleep very well throughout the race. So we would sleep 2-3 hours a night and wake up and we just couldn't sleep. And so I think that adds to the exhaustion. But as the race went on, we realized, right, how what I don't want to say how strong we were. That sounds bad. It sounds cocky, but we realized that we were very competitive against the cast. And as the race went on, we started to set expectations for ourselves, and we left hope we win, and we got to a place where we will win. And then so for that to not be realized, because I didn't look at this panel and turn it right side up, and for that to be the way, I was like, I took all the blame for that. Like, there's nothing he did wrong, and it was heartbreaking because, and there's the competition part of it, and then there was obviously the prize that comes with it, and we talked about going to Bowling Green, Kentucky, and getting our Corvettes put together and driving them off the line.
Oh. Hey, it's good to visualize, right?
Yes. Yeah. So I felt extremely bad that I let us down in the way that it happened. Phil was trying to get me to crown him Matt, but I held strong.
What was Phil saying to get you to cry? Was he like, you feel really bad? You feel really bad?
He was like, Marcus, but you got to spend all this time with Michael. Like, it was don't you feel good about that? He was like, but look at all the amazing things you've done, but look at this scenic view that we're on top of, right? And he was like, but Marcus, don't feel bad. But he's doing it in this voice that's like calming, but it's like melancholy. And he was like, but Marcus, like, you don't have to cry, but it's okay if you do.
Phil starts rocking you gently. It's okay if you cry.
Yeah, exactly. It was a good time.
Well, we were really sorry to see you go. We were really rooting for you, and we hope to see you in the finale. You were such a strong team.
Oh, well, thanks for saying that. Thanks, we appreciate it.
And I thought you did a great job. Personally, from an armchair person's perspective, I don't feel like you let anybody down. It's just how the race crumbled.
No, absolutely. And, I tried to be logical about this. And it's like, this was our time to have like a really bad leg. And other teams had their chance to have a really bad leg. They just done so when there were a lot of more teams having bad legs. So it didn't cost them the race like it did with us.
Yeah. What didn't we see on the show? Like, why do you feel like you were behind that during that leg? Because you were so strong and you got through challenges pretty quick. And it wasn't just the panel, I think. I mean, was it that maybe the edit didn't make it seem like extra long, but it seems to me that, even if it was a couple of hours, there were opportunities to catch up at various moments.
So I'll talk about the panel, then I'll talk about the opportunities. So with the panel, so 6 panels, 5 of them are essentially transparent with artwork on them. And then the last panel is not really transparent because it has the solid background. So that panel is the back piece, and because it's white on the back. So if I put it in front, I can't see anything else. So that's the back piece. And that's all I said to myself. Oh, this is the back piece. And I put it in. and I didn't look at there was some artwork on there, but it was very minimal. But I didn't look at that artwork at all. So then as I go through my process of putting the other 5 in place, when I got my first check, the back panel was obviously wrong like the whole time. There was one other panel wrong. It was like reversed. So that one panel, I turned it around. I'm like, oh, it looks good now. And he said no. And so I'm going back and forth to the example, and I'm like, it looks like it's right. And so, because I think it's right, but you're telling me it's not right. Now I don't know what to do. And so the time was really added in. I would take out 3 or 4 panels, like the first 3 or 4 panels, and I would look at them, and then I would go to the example. I would put them in one at a time. And I was coming up with the same answer. And I took a couple of times, I turned it backwards. And I'm like, no, that's not it. And then I didn't remember how I had it before, but essentially I was coming up with the same answer every time. And it wasn't until I took all of them out that I realized, oh, there's the mistake. In terms of opportunity, we left the park with the paintings about 45 minutes or so after Molly and Emily. And so when we arrived at the beach, we saw them like, oh, here's a chance. Go through, cook some sardines or whatever. And we left there about 30 minutes after Molly and Emily.
Mm.
So with that, okay, so it was like, oh, we made up 15 minutes somehow. And so at that point in time, we're like, oh, we think we have a chance. We didn't really have too much trouble getting to Rhonda. And so we left, we got there. We think, we did have to stop and get directions, but that I don't think it was an issue. But when we got to Rhonda, we realized everybody else was already done with the detour.
Mm.
And so the clue said, find a tour guide. When we valeted the car, we saw the wood carver guy first because he had the big yellow Amazing Race clue on his workshop. And so we ran to him first. We were told, like, this isn't your clue. And he's standing almost at the edge of the bridge above the tightrope area. And we could like see Molly or Emily completing the tightrope area, the tightrope roadblock.
We had wondered about that when we were recording our recap earlier. We were just like, I wonder how whether or not they understood what position they were in, or if they thought they still had a shot. So
first, right, we got the one clue, and the twins are doing a roadblock like below us. So then we ran, like it was just like maybe 20 yards away. We saw the tour guide. We got the tour or the clue, and it said detour, dress for success, or bend over backwards. We realized then, like, we still have to do a detour before the roadblock. There's only one clue left, so that means all other teams have already completed the roadblock. So I think reality kind of set in at that point. And so we're like, well, let's just go build something while we're here and enjoy the next 30 to hour or so we have as competitors on a race.
Wow. I mean, look, I heard that you were a super fan of the series. You were the one in your team who was the super fan of the series before you auditioned. And I'm wondering if you could tell us a little tiny bit about that, as well as the audition tape that you decided to make, during COVID, it sounds like, when you applied to be on this season of the show.
So I've been watching the show since it first aired in either 2000, 2001. Fan of the show, watched every season, some seasons 3, 4, 5 times. I think my favorite season might be 7 with Uchenna and Joyce, but that was more because Boston Rob just knew he had it and it didn't happen for him. But anyway, wanted to be on the show, but obviously our career. So because of our careers and age difference, right? Because Michael didn't turn 18 till like 2010 or something like that. So first age difference, because like at that time I was like, if I'm going to do it, this is probably the person I want to do it with. And then, so we didn't know if CBS would let us on the show as time went on. We didn't know if our profession would let us do the show. A few seasons ago, I'm drawing a blank on her name, the drill sergeant, Swole Mama, Swole Girls, Swole Sisters. Yeah. So she was active duty. I'm like, oh, that's not like a discriminator. And so here we are in COVID, December 2020. We're at my house and a couple of bourbons and tequilas. And I think we were watching some old rerun of a season. And we're like, hey, you know, just make a tape. And, you know, the show wasn't on because they had the halt because of COVID. And we were like, well, they're not casting right now, but let's just make the audition and send it anyway. So we did that in December 2020. We got a call in January of this year. And, you know, obviously they cast us. Because our names are Marcus and Michael, we kind of did this whole Bad Boys theme with our audition tape. So we had the music in the background, Bad Boys, what you gonna do? And then like we panned like into the camera, and then we kind of just took it from there. So that was
oh my God. What do you want people to know about your brother? Since he's not here, for our last question, is there anything you want us to know about him as a person or as a race mate or anything?
Gosh, you know, it's gonna sound weird to say this, but like the way I view Michael is right, because you know, part of his profession, like he's like the top 1% of 1% of 1% in our country and what he does for our country. And so in that, it's like, I think it's inherent that you just know, like, well, he's more than capable of doing anything. And I realized that on the show, like it was one thing to say it or believe it, was one thing, another thing to see it. And sometimes, like, I think he would almost subdue himself for what I wanted to do. And so I'm like, hey man, like you have it. Just tell me what it is that you want to do. Like, don't be reserved because it's me. And I think that was more of a product of our relationship of growing up, age difference and who we were in each other's lives. Like I'm mentor to mentee or coach to player, things like that. But he's super bright dude, but he's a super goofy dude. He tried to hide the fact that he left those keys in that castle. He tried to make it seem like he left the clue. I'm like, nah, man, you left these doggone keys. But no, he's an awesome dude, and I wouldn't choose to do the race with anybody else.
That's so sweet and dear, and we really love that tender moment at the end. And we thank you for spending time with us and being here to tell on Michael and to tell us about your journey on the race. And we wish you both the very best of luck. I have a feeling that if you can get the time off again, they'll definitely want you guys to come back because you definitely have unfinished business.
I like that. I like that unfinished business. I can't wait. Hopefully they have us back on. But thanks for having me. And Michael again sends his apologies. He couldn't be here today.
Of course. Well, let me take a picture really quick